Daria, you were asking about fuel. I think my fuel is just overflowing about my background, my experience in this journey as a teacher, as a drama practitioner, as a facilitator. My background starts in 1996 when I started my teaching some years ago. That's some years ago in Zimbabwe. During that time, our country didn't have arts and culture, including drama, as part of the school curriculum. It was just an extracurricular activity that was mostly done by people who had a passion for drama. You know, especially if you taught English or if you taught any languages in the schools, they asked you to be the drama patron at the schools. But my passion overshadowed everything else. And I always was a drama patron in all the schools that I went to. I had no training in drama whatsoever. But I just saw myself doing drama with the learners every time. And you know, organizations like Save the Children Fund, the Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace would always look for this woman. Oh, by the way, by then I was a girl. They would always look for this young lady who had this passion about drama and for drama. And then I would get students to perform plays for communities in the country and for schools. And then even when I wrote my, my thesis for teaching, I just saw myself writing a thesis on using drama to teach comprehension in English and Ndebele. There were no textbooks on drama at the college, but I just saw myself drawing information from where I don't know, but I wrote a very beautiful thesis from that. And then Jackie talks about transitioning, and I transitioned to South Africa, where I heard that there is a program that will actually build you up on your drama passion, and that was Drama for Life. And I started seeing the side of drama that can promote the teacher to use drama to teach in the classroom, not just to teach drama and the other arts, but to teach drama in the classroom. You can now put me in a maths class, I will use drama to teach maths. In an English class, literature class, I will use drama to teach maths. And my transition, my journey, my fuel keeps going. Now I am teaching teachers, drama teachers. The sky is the limit. I don't know where this drama will take me now after this teaching of teachers in drama.
I'd like to pose a question to the panel about perhaps the need or the relevance of the arts in a curriculum, and perhaps thinking about how the South African curriculum does pose the arts. Now we've heard about how it creates connection, how it can create possibility, how it's a language in some instances. Do we feel that there is perhaps enough, or is it incorporated in the correct ways, perhaps, is what I'm getting at, within the school curriculum and currently in the spaces that you are working? And I don't know who wants to tackle that first. Gloria, do you want to?
So, I don't know, I feel like it's a little, being in the space that I'm in, art is a fundamental, at the core of a lot of the experience at the school that I'm in, regardless of the subject that is being taught. And so, the idea of incorporating some kind of understanding of a holistic experience of learning is infiltrated through all the subjects. So, I think it's in the place that I'm in, I'm seeing how that can, in a way, be integrated, how art can enter into physics, into maths, into the science subjects, into the subjects that we often think of as more cerebral, and, you know. But I think more and more, and I would like to respectfully disagree on the idea that drama should, like, the arts doesn't need its own space, because I think it does, and I think it needs to continue to have its own space, because it provides a very specific place in the rhythm of our lives. And so, yes, I agree with the idea of pockets of possibilities everywhere, but what, for me, drama offers is really that space where you human, where you life, and I think it's important to stop sometimes and just do that. And so it needs the weight that it requires, I think. I don't know if that answered your question.
I think you've given some very valuable insights. I just want to know, in terms of how the curriculum works at your school, it's still a South African curriculum,
Yes.
but the methodology is more of a using the arts.
So at our school, the only time we encounter the national curriculum is on matric level. So from baby group all the way up until grade 11, it is alternate curriculum. And so, of course, that doesn't mean that we're not teaching things that are in alignment that prepare them for the matric exams, but we do it in a way that is not results driven up until that point, that allows them to express.
Question for you, Alison. Are you talking about the methodology that teachers use in the drama classroom, or broadly, even in other subjects?
I think I'm talking both. So I'm talking broadly about what impact do the arts make in schools and what is its place in the curriculum. But the particular question was about how the arts are used currently in Waldorf, because it does seem to be a more, as you said, holistic sort of space. But I know that a lot of schools are not able to use it in similar ways, or have the space to do that.
Yeah.
So I think, for example, what Dario was saying about inner city schools and your experience, perhaps, is that it is outside the curriculum. It's a co-curriculum more than and yet as we know, those spaces are quite wide.
Okay. From my experience with supervising my students in the PGCE class, there are things that I've noted. We have the art schools. For example, I've gone to the East Rand School of Arts and the National School of Arts, and I've seen them teaching in public schools, I've seen them teaching in private schools. And the narrative of the arts is totally different from each setting. With the art schools, when you just enter the gate, you actually feel the arts. Even the buildings themselves, the way they are structured, you see that, yes, I've entered an arts-based setting here. Even the timetabling in the two art schools, drama, for example, and even arts and culture, the timetable allocates 1 hour per lesson for that. And when learners go in there, they are enabled to explore the arts with the possible time that they are given. And they're so invested. You see them, that when the teachers are teaching, that hour even feels like 5 minutes for them, because there's so much investment in the arts, and they still want to go for another second hour. And even the principal himself or herself, the teachers they speak the language of arts. And even the learners, when they're walking in the corridors, I was just watching them, you will see that these are arts-engaged learners. And there's a certain posture, guys, that you see with them. You see that these are people that have got arts in them. And then, boom, you go to a public school. Arts is given 35 minutes. And I asked one of my students, why is it given 35 minutes? And she said, you know what, ma'am, arts, it's drama, it's just that subject. They feel like it's supposed to be an extracurricular activity. And I asked the student, then what should you do as a teacher to bring this affect into the whole school, to make the school realize the importance of using arts, to be used in the maths teaching, in the sciences, in the other arts. Remember, languages are also called arts, but I don't know why they're called arts also. In the other arts, what can you do? What do you think you can do? What would you leave behind as this arts teacher? I know you're a student teacher, but what would you leave to the school so that they realize the importance of arts teaching in the schools? She said, ma'am, what I can only do is that I still promote drama as an extracurricular activity. And I was like, oh, that it can't go that way. We need to be felt. And then now going back to the art school, I was talking to the principal at East Rand High School, and he said, you know, ma'am, we are so excited to have your students here. So this is what we do for them. As student teachers, if it's a maths teacher, we invite the maths teacher to come to the arts class. And he observes the arts teacher teaching. And then the next time, we ask the maths teacher, can you use the methods that you saw in the arts class? And then we also invite the arts teacher also to go to the maths class. So it's easier with the art schools. But with some private and public schools, it's so difficult. I think there's still a long way for us to get our tentacles there, that they feel that our methodologies are actually more engaging than the traditional teaching methods that they use in most of the schools.
Yeah, I was thinking that I think it's a war at the moment in schools to get arts programs respected. I think it is very difficult now with funding and trying to offer schools to offer all the sports and actually pay extra teachers and pay salaries for them to justify arts, because in their opinion it's not very important, and it's not important for parents who bring their children to schools. It's not high up on the list of requirements. So I think it's taken me close to 20 years to make the arts so respected in my own school. And I'm in a very, very, very fortunate position that I grew drama to be the biggest extramural activity, and also becoming one of the biggest subjects. We have just over 100 kids in each grade, and this year we have 45 of them in grade 10 who chose drama. And the only way you can do it is to try and go behind their back to make this thing grow to the point where it becomes an animal they cannot ignore. And you slowly just take over through all kind of deconstructive methods until even the parents are on your side. And now we have an entire arts centre that's been built for us, but we had to become the biggest extramural. And that's why I think when drama teachers are in their space, it is going to be a fight, and you have to be willing to fight the fight. Otherwise it will die. I think the importance of having drama as a subject is to bring skills into the school. Otherwise, we know if it remains just an extramural, the English teacher is going to be doing drama on the weekends. Whoever they bring in is going to do drama, whose timetable is not full will be given drama. So it loses the skills that could be fed into the drama. So all those trained people don't actually get to work with the kids because there's no posts. So I think it's so important that drama grows as a subject so that kids get led in safe places with teachers who've been trained to facilitate play, to facilitate improvisation, who know what they're doing, so that drama actually doesn't become a terrible experience for students, because not all drama experiences are positive. When I look at some drama programs that I know of in schools, sad. And it's not a positive thing that kids come out of. So I do think there is an important space. Sorry.
So you couldn't have said it better. You and Sibongile, because this is what I'm saying. So it's not about fighting for our little spot. It's about finding those subversive. Those subversive. That's what we need. And Sibongile was saying the questions she was asking her student. Can you talk to the math? That's how.
How do you get parents or communities invested to see that this is what the teenagers and the children want? How do we make that transition?
Well, we always have the big problem with subject choice evening. And how you're going to go about it. And I, long ago, did away with the idea of making them, or trying to sell drama on its wonderful creative possibilities and how it's going to make you a better human being, because they don't care about that. So I chose a pure business model, which is a bit like Pietru's model of what the skills of the future look like. And I have a whole little PowerPoint and a little presentation all on the business skills that you can get, through doing drama, from the management skills and the project management. And the minute, parents say, but I don't want my child to be an actor, and I always say, I don't want them to be either, because there's no jobs there. And I'm not saying your child must go and study drama, and then, when they hit grade 11, then I start saying, maybe you should. But it's a process. You first have to get them to be in the subject, before you can start looking at the next step of maybe convincing them the arts do have a place in their future. But you have to do it on a business model for the parents.
To answer your question first, I'll take a situation of places like Soweto and places like Alex. Last year, I had one of my students who was at a school in Soweto, and it's one of the few schools in the locations that offers drama. And the learners love arts and culture and drama. But for them, arts and culture and drama is about Sarafina, becoming the next Sarafina. They don't see it so much as a subject. And I'm notoriously known for speaking to principals of schools. After I assess my students, I go and see the principal. And the principal actually looked interested. She said, ever since your student came to teach this subject, our learners are showing that interest. But the problem is that in places like Soweto, drama is nothing. So, to answer your question, I'm like, why can't we also as lecturers and as other interested and engaged drama people have something similar to what Drama for Life is doing, but we do not bring it here. We take it to some schools in places like Soweto, and maybe, to use a simple word, and advertise drama as a subject, not as an extracurricular thing, as a subject, an important subject that the learner needs for their growth, to transition even in life. And yesterday I was watching the news on ETV, and then there was just a small snippet about this teacher, and the newsreader said, in the next news clip, we're going to show you the teacher that we've always wanted to have in the classroom. And that teacher was dancing with the learners in the classroom. He was dancing. And it was news, and the video had gone viral. And then I said, okay, this teacher, what subject does he teach? And I saw it was arts and culture. And I was like, I'm disappointed. What if that was a maths teacher and dancing the Pythagoras theorem in the classroom? Because he's an arts teacher, he understands the need to do the dancing, and it was part of the curriculum. But why not dance maths? Why not dance photosynthesis in the classroom to engage the learners more? So I think, Mr. Warren, in the future, can we have that thing where we go out? I know Alison is doing a great job doing that, but now we want to take it more with the drama methodology and say, these are our methods and this is what we want to see in the schools that don't even promote drama or arts and culture as a subject in the schools. Let us be seen that way, let us be known through that.
And I think with that fantastic challenge, what I'd quite like to do now is to open it up to the rest of the people who are with us here to ask questions or to engage with comments or thoughts. I think if we can perhaps have quite a nice intimate discussion. Yes. Lucy, do you want the mic or do you want
I think I can project.
Okay.
So my question was initially posed to Pietro, but actually what you also said, Dario, brings it to mind that when Pietro presented the leadership skills, there was no mention of ethics. And to me, you know, the dangers that we've seen in terms of the business world is because there isn't a foundation in ethics and understanding of what humans need to survive. And I was wondering if we take it into the improv space, is that what the facilitator does? Are they the one holding the values? But when you talk about having to use the business model for your parents, you know, it just makes me so sad that the idea of actually selling an arts-based subject on the fact that it allows for human connection, understanding, empathy, you know, all the ethical foundations of a society. You know, we have to kind of, and I understand the reason you do that because you're working with a particular population, but when are we going to find a time where we can actually promote, you know, secular ethics without having to hide it underneath a business model? And when will business take on ethics so that actually we have businesses that care about their staff, that care about the environment, that, you know, care about the sustainability of, you know, the work that they do? Over to you, because I rely on the arts so much for finding these solutions to current day problems.
You want to go first? So it's about language. You asked me earlier, and I sat thinking about it a bit. It shows up in those reports under the idea of employee engagement, because people stay and are engaged in an organization because of their relationships with people. And under employee engagement, they will just not use the word ethics, is not the one that comes up, but is, do you care for your people? Do your people want to stay? What is the organizational culture? And when you start talking about organizational culture, the next word is values. What are the organizational values? And then how do these values get... So a lot of the work I do when I do work in organizations is around what are the stories we need to tell about our organization, how are those stories true, and how do we close the gap between what we say we believe and strive for and what is in fact embodied in our structures, in our relationships and in our hierarchies and our policies. So I think it's language. It's not the word ethics isn't used, but the words human connection, community, values, those are very, very strongly used in organizations.
I just want to say on that as well, that I think ethics is difficult because it sort of implies that there's a correct ethics. And I know when I did my master's here, it used to frustrate me when we did things like critical pedagogy, and because it was very much established on the idea that there was a correct way that children should be taught. And that maybe the current education system needs to become more critical pedagogy with those values. But it's still operating on a binary. And when I did my master's thesis, I did it on Stanislavski remodeled. How we can find gaps, what you call pockets, like sort of postmodern pockets in a world where we are working in schools with very, very strong master narratives. You know, where there is a truth. And I think the whole idea is that, there's the question of like desire, that teachers need to create a desire in children to learn this thing called X. But that's based on, Freud, the idea of lack. Whereas if we open it up to the creation of ethics, the creation of whatever the children decide, and I know that sounds terrible because Pietro was giving us examples of what children get up to and what they could actually come up with. But I do think it's so important that we provide more and more opportunities for students to create their ethics. And not for us to sort of say what those ethics are. I'm not saying we can't guide and facilitate, but even the word guide means that we feel we have the correct ethics. So I'm always scared with ethics about what is the truth there. I look at them and I also shake my head sometimes and I think this can't be the future. And then I have to think, well, take a step back, it's not your future. It's their future. And as long as they can reason it and negotiate it, and that's what I feel you need to start, and that's where drama, I think, can help.
Talking about their future, yes, we are now entering what is called the fourth industrial revolution, and it's bringing new emergent challenges. And we are seeing the science revolution taking a step back, and what we are seeing is the technological revolution where world leaders and whoever feel that they don't need the input of human beings anymore. And what is that doing to the future of our children, of the learners in the classroom? Where is humanity going to